The following is a narrative thought experiment from a writer's standpoint for a D&D podcast. Spoilers ahead for JRWI Apotheosis. In episode 11 of JRWI Apotheosis, we are met with the untimely demise of Peter Skloint, Charlie Slimesicle's character. At the end of the episode, and further discussed in Just Rolled With It, the JRWI crew boiled down the two possible choices for them to move forward with the story, being reviving Peter or moving on without him. Introducing a character late into the game will be completely overshadowed by the death of Peter Skloint, and though moving on after Peter's death is very doable, narratively speaking, without a revival, I'll be discussing the alternative option. Additionally, I will be giving my thought experiment of a hypothetical revival under the lens of a D&D structure, rather than me approaching it as any other form of storytelling medium. With the main concern of reviving a character being nullifying the impact of a character's death, the best course of action will be to justify a revival in the first place. By having a major event occur as a consequence to the revival of a character, it in turn justify whatever transpires after said revival as a natural story beat. Plus, from a D&D standpoint, as shown by Charlie Slimesicle in Just Rolled With It, if a player is uncomfortable or not ready to move on from a character, it is always fair to give the player the means of giving their character a farewell, or be given a chance to continue on with that same character, which is a matter between the GM and the player. Peter coming back could feel easy at first, though comforting, the easy revival would make one feel uneasy. And that is when the other shoe drops, and the mention of the price of a life gets brought up. Either a deal has been struck for a revival, and in turn a price has to be paid, or a trial has to be won by the reviving members. Whatever outcome occurs, even if it's not any of the previously mentioned choices, the consequences of the revival have to be major. With the story of Apotheosis building up to an end, one final event has to occur to justify bringing back a character, so that the revival of a loved one not seem like it's being waved off with a simple solution, which could appear to be the case if, say, Rumi revived him with a spell that he miraculously got with no pre-mention of him having access to such sort of spells, with the reasoning that he leveled up. Or, if the deal gets struck, but the payment for said deal is not that hard a task to do and provides no struggle for the main characters that have to pay it up. Anything less than a major event following a revival downplays the fact that a person died and they are fighting to keep him with them. It should go without saying that if Peter were to come back, it's best to do it at the beginning of an episode for no other reason than the fact that this is a D&D game, and it would help avoid letting a player just sit there for a good chunk of a session and do nothing as the other players are slowly going through the whole process of reviving him. With D&D being an improvisational game, people would argue that having the GM and players discuss how the revival process will go may go against the core of D&D. To counter that, every table is different. What may be allowed in one table may not be allowed in another. This is always a discussion between the players and the GM. Additionally, the majority of the improvisational aspect of D&D will be fulfilled by the consequences that occur due to the revival succeeding, at least at first. They could discuss how the revival would be implemented outside of the game, but every consequence that comes from it and every trial that comes from their choice are things that the players are none the wiser, and are things that only the GM is privy to. Which brings us back to the players not knowing completely of the consequences of their actions, and brings us back to core D&D. To wrap up, reviving a character won't be easy, nor should it be. If one were to easily revive a character, it would feel like there is no consequence to the story and that the solution came out of nowhere, hence the need of a major consequence to balance out or justify the action of a revival. Okay, that's the end of me recording that. It is far too early for this. The episode came out a couple of hours ago, and then I watched it, and then after that I sat and mourned for a good chunk of time, and then I went to sleep for 3 hours, woke up, wrote this. It wasn't even supposed to be recorded. It was just supposed to be a Tumblr post, and now it exists as a recorded audio thing, maybe a video with just slight images, because I'm not going to commit that much power or time into this, but this exists now. When I listened to Just Rolled With It, and Charlie Slimesicle said, "Hey, why don't you be more thoughtful with your media consumption?" I took that to heart. And now I have a school essay. If Charlie does not fucking grade this thing, what is the point? It's summer vacation. I need someone to grade my work. I'm joking, but it will be very fucking funny. God, won't it be funny? Anyway, ending the video, if this does end up a video, be safe, be kind, be legendary. I hope everyone is dealing way better than I am with Apotheosis. Goodbye.